How many times have you found yourself in a seemingly simple situation, an opportunity that seemed too good to be true? The idea of sharing a living space with a stranger might seem like a practical solution, especially when the cost is low. But what if your new roommate or landlord turned out to be your worst nightmare? The small clues start to add up: strange behaviors, unsettling actions, and suddenly you begin to wonder if you're living in a nightmare. What would you do if you were forced to face a situation like this? In this video, we'll explore 3 real and terrifying stories of people who lived with the worst roommates imaginable. Many times, the most terrifying experiences happen within our own homes, a place where we expect to feel safe. But what happens when the person who was supposed to be your companion or housemate turns into something far more sinister? Today, we'll see how these so-called normal roommates turned out to be much more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. As these stories unfold, you'll realize that the signs were there from the very beginning. But, as in many situations in life, it took a dramatic event for the protagonist to truly see the danger. These stories aren't just scary, they're a warning. What would you do if the red flag started to appear but you didn't know how to respond? Often, our instincts try to warn us, but we fail to listen. It's time to learn from these experiences and recognize what might be happening around you before it's too late. Now, get ready for stories that will send chills down your spine, while also teaching you valuable life lessons. Imagine the feeling of moving into a new place with rent lower than expected, and at first glance, everything seemed perfect. Luke, the landlord, seemed like a normal guy, friendly, offering an affordable price. The young tenant felt lucky, until the first strange rules started appearing. Never lock the bedroom door, keep the lights on at night, and avoid making any noise. A peaceful and problem-free living situation. Not exactly. As time passed, the new tenant began to notice that Luke always knew when he was home. And worse, he started making unexpected visits, appearing out of nowhere in places he shouldn't be. But things escalated quickly. At night, the sound of heavy footsteps and strange knocking came from the basement, always at exactly 2 a.m. As the clock struck the hour, the tenant tried to ignore it, but the unease only grew stronger. He began to wonder what was really happening there. And then, the situation reached its breaking point. He woke up in the middle of the night to find Luke standing beside his bed, staring at him. What was this? A horrible feeling overtook him, as if he were about to be devoured. Luke, with a cold smile, simply said, "I think you should move out." What did that mean? A simple, friendly man had transformed into a stranger who apparently already knew everything. But the worst was yet to come. The young man started investigating, and the answer was closer than he had imagined. After a disturbing discovery, he went down to the basement and found what looked like a nightmare scene. The unbearable smell, the filth, and something far more sinister than he ever could have imagined. What was Luke hiding? Was this just the home of an eccentric man, or was he in real danger? From that moment on, every decision could be fatal. Should he have left before uncovering the truth? When you decide to share an apartment in college, it might seem like things will be smooth and easy. But what if your roommate turned out to be a constantly threatening presence? In the case of our protagonist, David was the kind of person who seemed friendly at first, but soon things started getting strange. David always seemed to be where he was, as if he had the ability to appear at the exact moment the narrator was in his room. And at night, what seemed like a simple breeze soon turned into incessant whispers that made him question his sanity. David wasn't just physically present, he was also psychologically invasive. He knew what the other was doing without even being around, and that was becoming unsettling. The situation reached a breaking point when one day, the narrator found a hidden pile of photos, pictures of him sleeping, taken while he was completely unconscious. This couldn't be a coincidence. What he was experiencing wasn't just strange behavior or an eccentric habit. David was clearly monitoring his movements, his actions, and even his most private moments. Anxiety and fear took hold of the young man, who now had no idea how to protect himself or what to do with the information he had. He wondered how much David knew about him and how he had managed to take those photos. Sensing imminent danger, the narrator reached out to the college administration, urgently requesting a room change. Although he managed to escape physically, the fear and dread didn't go away. What he didn't know was that David wasn't just a weird roommate. He had a history of disturbing behavior and had already been reported by other students before. That was the situation he barely escaped from by a thread. Now, the lingering question is, what could have happened if he had stayed longer? What would have been the consequences of ignoring the strange behavior and just going on with his life? Looking for an affordable place to live is a necessity that often makes us lower our guard. Rob seemed like a good roommate at first. Friendly, helpful, and in the beginning he appeared to be a normal guy. But as days passed, the woman started noticing strange things happening. Her underwear began to disappear, and Rob reacted excessively when she suggested putting a lock on her bedroom door. He became uncomfortable, reacted aggressively, and eventually, the situation started taking a more alarming turn. But how could she have known she was dealing with someone dangerous? At first glance, he seemed harmless. That was until a stranger approached her and revealed something terrifying. Rob had a history of restraining orders due to his obsession with multiple women. He wasn't just weird, he was dangerous. But the situation didn't stop there. That same night, she woke up to find him sitting beside her bed, watching her. He didn't say a word, but his stare and his behavior hinted at something far worse. With an unbearable touch, he tried to soothe her in a way that made her feel nauseous. Fear hit instantly. She quickly ran outside, called the police, and was escorted out of the house. The revelation of Rob's behavior became even more shocking when the police confirmed his past actions. He had a pattern. When we find ourselves in situations like this, it's easy to ignore the signs, to rationalize other people's actions. But when you're facing a predator, rationalization only puts you in danger. The woman managed to escape, but what about you? Would you be prepared to deal with this kind of threat? And what would you do if you noticed signs of dangerous behavior but didn't know how to react? Ignoring these signs can be fatal, which is why we must always trust our instincts.